Hey, so we've been talking about words and meaning, I guess, and words tend to be distracting because words represent our inner state of affairs, which is the constant busy mind, always thinking and analyzing, conceptualizing. But words aren't necessarily bad. Um, some say that the way to enlightenment is not from the through the head, but through the heart, and by that they mean stopping overanalyzing and just being and feeling and being present, and that's very it's associated very closely with the heart, intuition and feeling and simplicity, expression, um, and the mind is often associated with intellect. I mean, it is, it's intellect, it's knowledge, it's concepts, but we don't need to, punish one side of ourselves and embrace the other. Really, I guess you could say meditation practice is sort of a way to balance the mind and the body and create more harmony. Because if we are accepting the mind as it is, and we accept the heart as it is, it's not that we're rejecting or embracing either, it's just that stillness, which allows both to flourish in a healthier way. Um, Both the mind and the body can work together. We just need this sort of that acceptance first for it to happen, that sort of stillness, embracement of what is, and that is meditation. And so the heart and the mind, they really do work together because let's say that I don't know, take any kind of meditative practice or not even any kind of just simple action. We need both for it to occur. Um, we want to connect to our world and we want to think about our world too. We don't want to get lost in either. I mean, it's harder to get lost in the heart unless you get lost in feelings. But we want a sense of connection with the world, and we want a sense of understanding and knowledge. But the both of them can have sort of a balance so that we're not overanalyzing, but we're not overly impulsive and just feeling. And yeah, so the two can really work in a great kind of harmony if we practice not anything in particular, but balance out our habits. And I guess that is like the primary focus in any kind of practice or spiritual practice. It's not, I mean, some tend to focus on one thing or the other, but the healthiest practice, I believe, is this one that just relaxes and accepts the body, mind, and soul holistically. So everything is being utilized and not just one thing over another. Um, so yeah, the intellect is not necessarily higher or even lower than the heart. Um, it doesn't really work like that. We need both, and we end up going back to the heart in some sense and returning to feeling and simplicity after the mind has developed its thinking capacities. We return back to feeling and being, and at least from a meditative state, when you begin to cultivate mindfulness and awareness, we kind of begin to have an all-permeating sense of I-ness or awareness that we may feel physical sensations like the I guess you could say the third eye, feeling like this intense pressure right there, and other physical sensations. But in spite of all of that, it comes down to just this relax, this ease, this acceptance of what is, and our mind acts differently from that point of view, from that state of being. If you've ever had a day after meditation, or even not, it doesn't have to be after meditation, something can trigger it where we just suddenly are in this state of peace, and instead of grasping for things, the little stuff in the day doesn't bother us so much. It's a simple acceptance, you know. We're late for work, not that late, but you know, we're a little late for work. We're waiting for like 5 minutes on a light. Um, the weather's nastier. It's raining. They didn't have what you want at a store, or just the busy going ons of every day. Sometimes, like if you're from that state of acceptance, um, it doesn't bother you as much. It's sort of a passive bare awareness, as aware of all things and accepting all things as they come around. And the mind actually works differently in that state. It's not always trying to justify or fight or compete. It sort of works with you, and some people get more creative during these times. Some people don't. Um, but everyone tends to explain this as a sort of bare attention, bare awareness, this great deep relaxation, almost even during the most active parts of the day. And as meditation goes on, and as we practice, this becomes more and more part of what we are every day. And even some people, very experienced meditators, will say this permeates even through their sleep. This simple isness, this awareness. In Zen, they call it mindfulness. So, I guess it's good to be mindful, and to be mindful isn't to be analyzing everything. It doesn't mean to be mindful like that. It's just a simple passive acceptance of all that is, and that requires an emotional release, um, which requires two things: the mind and the body. We need to stop overanalyzing, relax the mind, bring the attention back to the body, and we might find that there are emotional blocks throughout our body, which in meditation we bring our mindfulness or our bare attention to these parts of our body, and we feel where these emotional grasps are that are still holding on, our unconscious, or subconscious, and we just sort of not force them open, because you can't force these things to release and relax, but you sort of just accept them. You bring your mindfulness that you've been practicing in meditation to that emotional state, and you just let it rest there. You just accept that, and gradually these blocks sort of dissolve and relax. The contraction stops, and we gain better peace with ourselves, because we were overall accepting. It's not that we weren't accepting things out there in the environment. It turns out we realized that it was something in here that we were gripping with, and we were tensing up with to deal with the everyday world. So when we start to let go of these things, life becomes more simple. I mean, it always was simple, but we've just made it more complicated. So the mind and the heart are very important for this. Feeling and thinking both need to ease and become more harmonious, because if they're all blocked up, if we're over analyzing, then our mind is clenching, and if we have an insecurity, then our heart is clenching too. So it requires both in a very simple, natural way of release, in order to really gain deeper states of peace and awareness of ourselves and others. And yeah, I guess that's it for this video. Thank you for listening.